Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Hard Shift. Second one today. Naturally, my name is Matrym.
Yeet.
We're going to be coming in talking about PUBG stuff, kind of, sort of, and whatever catches our fancy. Naturally, no surprise, I've got Porosaurus with me, as always. But this time around, we've got Zanpah from Tempo Storm and the voice of an angel, MachineGunner, here. So, with this, let's do a little bit of a conversation about you guys' selves and tell us a little bit about yourself. We'll start off with Gunner. You go ahead. Tell us a little bit.
All right. Well, my name is Owen, also known as Machine Gunner. I am 30 years young, and I've
It's an
been
easy way
playing
to look at it.
Yeah, that's right. I've been playing PUBG since the start of PUBG, and yeah, I'm probably the best player in the scene. Now I'm kind of like retired because I wanted to give these young cats a chance to grow and turn into what I have become, of course. So
That's only fair. And as
The
Zampa,
competition.
one of the recipients
Competitive
of that.
PUBG
Ooh.
wasn't tough, right? It wasn't hard enough.
yeah, it wasn't hard enough,
You went
So
the Soul
now,
Tech route.
yeah, so now I'm just gonna
Ooh.
go at blackout and give him my chance there.
He is definitely the best dad figure in the scene.
Hey,
Okay. I see
that
how it is. We
hurts.
got three people competing for dad figure here.
I'm the drunk
But
uncle. I already know him. I know my
He's a
spot.
drunk uncle.
The
all right,
drunk uncle.
so
I'm the Uncle Rico of PUBG.
this is true. You are the only person that has done a shoey on an event stream. So,
I bet you I can throw this game over that mountain.
all right. So with that, Zampa, you give us a little bit of a breakdown about yourself, man.
I'm Zampa Logan Heckman, or Logan Zampa Heckman. I played for Corn Shuckers when the season first started, and I got into that team by playing on other rosters like Ataxia and subbing in, and that's how I first started PUBG. And then I eventually went to Tempo Storm from Corn Shuckers, and that's where my home is currently.
With the awesome play of Need Small Loans,
Ooh.
busting through the window. Think I
I
forgot
remember
about
that
that?
play, dude. I
That's still one
remember
of my
that.
favorite plays.
Just by the apartments.
Yeah, that was one of my first big plays.
That was a pretty big play. I'm not gonna lie.
That was a highlight reel play kind of thing.
Speaking of highlight reels, there's somebody in chat that's saying that I give off Nathan Fillion vibes, which I will take.
God.
I fucking
Yeah.
love Nathan
Oh,
Fillion.
that's my boy Soonest. Nice.
He loves hearing that.
Raw.
Dude, I love Nathan Fillion. That's always a huge compliment coming through there. All right, so we got two people that have been in the scene for, well, actually, all of us have been here for quite a while now. Since essentially the early days of PUBG, where we all played for pride and
Mouse pads.
mouse pads. Yes, mouse pads.
Yes, and
one
mouse
quarter,
pads.
1/4 of a mouse pad.
Split it apart.
Yeah, exactly. One mouse pad for an entire
Cut
team.
4 ways.
Matter of fact,
Better have your sensitivity high.
so I gotta say, why are you wearing a Tempo Storm jersey?
Oh,
Is
this
this
is
roster royale leaks? Is this the way it's coming through?
no leaks, no leaks. So my boy Zampa hooked me up and he gave me one of his jerseys in what is it, PGI, I think, Zampa?
Yeah, it was Burbank.
Yeah, PGI. So yeah, he gave me one of his jerseys, and Zampa's like he's like a little brother to me. So I figured I was doing this podcast with him. I mean, I might as well have the Tempo jersey on since his camera is broken and his Tempo jersey isn't on. But I'm sure he's wearing it right now. So
All the time. All the
I
time.
am. I also have 3 framed on my wall.
see that?
Three
So he was
framed on
nice
your
enough
wall?
to give me one.
What
Framed
are they like
jerseys.
signed or where'd that come from?
No, they're not actually framed. They're just hanging on my wall.
Just like
But
just
like
nailed
your
in the up
event
there.
no, I got a coat hanger on the nails.
jersey?
Yikes!
That's high quality class. There. I
Yeah.
love it.
That's how it's done. That's how it's done.
And all right, so with this thing, let's kind of talk a little bit about we kind of hinted about roster royale and everything that's going on. A little bit of a chaotic time in North America. We got a lot of rosters that are switching around, stuff like that. Naturally, we've got PGL that's coming up. One of the topics of conversation we were talking about earlier is how a lot of people are kind of assuming that PGL is like the lock-in stage for a lot of these rosters, and I don't kind of feel it that way. I think the fact that this is kind of like the hard trial for a couple of people before they move in to potentially get full signed. Is that kind of the vibes that you guys are getting? Do you see roster royale going on for a little bit longer, or you think that we're coming to the tail end of it?
Go ahead,
take it.
Zampa. Yeah, go for it.
I definitely think that Roster Royale is going to continue through PGL because there definitely is not going to be teams that want to play with certain people on their roster for many tournaments, because I don't know if they think they're either skilled enough or they don't like their personality. And I think that'll last till like December, that people will like fully lock in their rosters, when December will be like the permanent phase
And so that
for
was kind of what I was
rosters.
going for too. Like you got to get some time to fill out the personality of the people because you hit it on the head. Like everybody knows each other's fragging skills to a certain degree at this stage because we have a lot of people that are just kind of moving from one team to another team. That's a
Yeah,
totally
just
different topic.
recycling.
Yeah, we're cycling a lot of
Yeah.
players, but like you got to get that feel for okay, is this person good? Like I always think that the real test of a team is whenever shit just goes sideways and you have a terrible, terrible run. Like let's say you end up like I don't know 10th or something, maybe 15th inside of something, and then seeing how the team rebounds off of that. I think that's kind of like the big factor. It's always easy to be a good team and everybody will love each other when you're writing success. Whenever you have a really shitty game or a really shitty series, that's whenever you know, okay, is this roster going to work or not? Can we rebound from it?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think like I don't think the Roster Royale is over at all. Like I mean, especially since like recently there's been even more and more free agents like with like well what was Totality and Nova breaking up. Like I think that's a solid like that whole team is a solid like crew of like really good free agents that could add to or benefit a team. So uh but yeah, I think like going to I guess PGL and experiencing a LAN especially could always like change stuff and even make it even worse. Like who knows? Like someone could step on each other's shoe, and you know when it comes to esports, like that might piss someone off. So then all of a sudden they don't like each other, and then someone's dropped, and they're looking for more people. So I don't think Roster Royale is over. I think it's going to go. Honestly, up until the point where there's more information about Pro League, and then people like, because at that point, I think people or teams will really feel like the pressure of needing to find like their solidified roster to make a run, whether in Pro League or at Pro League. I'm not sure. Have they announced much else about like how a team is getting in there? Is it big orgs? Some
Qualifiers
people
and
said
We,
qualifiers. Like
we've been hearing lots of talk about qualifiers, and we know that a lot of people at PUBG Corp have said the fact that they prefer qualifiers. And I gotta say, I kind of like that too because it gives a chance. Because we've had a notorious problem, specifically in North America, of teams taking spots that shouldn't have spots, and
right.
then making North America look worse than it. Oh, I guess
Well, I mean, we
making it
got
look worse. We'll
Yeah,
just leave it there.
team earning spots.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
could have been. I don't know.
definitely
It's
North American PUBG. That's all you can say. It's a little chaotic.
scream.
It's because we were. I mean, we had that problem where it's like so wheels off, right? Like holy shit, my chair just like sank for no reason. Where it
You're
was
short
like
now.
thick boy. But no, where we had that thing where like we were talking about earlier, why I think that NA is actually getting better now is because we're finally starting to get like all the good players are starting to consolidate on a couple of teams rather than having like you know maybe 20 good players in the scene spread out across 12 different teams. Now we're starting to have them kind of focus in on 4 or 5, and I think that's going to be a good thing for the scene. The only thing that I think the next thing I think that needs to change, we need to stop recycling players. We
Well,
need
I
to get
love
new blood
Sampty's
in.
coming in
But
here with the NA PUBG, throwing the emotes. Yeah, okay. Let's be realistic. North American PUBG has had some struggles on international stages. We got
yeah, well, we've
we,
also won on international stages too.
this is
So
true. This is true. We got two
you never
wins
know.
now, right?
You
Right?
never, well,
Three?
you never know what. I mean, that's always been the problem, right? And I don't know, Gunner and Zanpah, y'all agree, but like, you never know what you're gonna get out of any PUBG. Like, you have teams that are doing super good going into an international tournament, and then they just kind of crap the bed, and then you have some that are just kind of like doing whatever, and then they come in and they win WSOE.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we do.
Shout out to Tempo
Yeah,
Storm.
we have a
There's
North American player here that has won a international LAN. So yeah, look at that.
But it's like
definitely
it's just always been inconsistency, right?
yeah. I mean, if you look at the EU scene, it normally is FaZe. Shoutouts to my boy Sampty, who wants to try to roast NA. Consistently it was Tempo Storm and NA, and consistently Optic and Envious, and Dig, which is technically an EU team, in my opinion. with their roster, and then I think that currently it's shifting more towards an EU focus, and that with the new Pro League rules, that it will not it will definitely help NA because it'll have to be 3 NA players and then 1 region other than NA.
Well,
Yeah,
it made for a very interesting situation because we had that double down of, okay, gotta have 3 players from the region, so that means you can have 1 from anywhere else. But people that had been living or playing in North America for quite a while didn't get grandfathered in, which was kind of weird. And then they also dropped the 18 years and older, which I think,
Yeah.
in my opinion, actually hit North America far harder than it hit EU because we have a whole ton of players that are in like that 16 to 17 range that are really strong, that are just constantly never going to be able to play in any big events. Well, at least until next year, maybe.
Next
Maybe
year.
our boy Spoonage, Vegas, and all the cadets, maybe,
Oh.
maybe they'll have a chance next year.
Next year.
Cadets. Would
So
you?
have-
I got a question for Zanpah, if I may ask. Was
Hit
that
'em.
the Vegas land? Was that like the hardest one for you so far? Like, I know you've been to a bunch. You even went to a bunch overseas. Like, what was your hardest land? You think like the one that you guys won there was, or do you think there was a harder one?
I think Starladder was probably the hardest one to prove.
Yeah.
Like you're a top team because like
The most recent
there
one or
was
the
it
first
was
one?
the most recent one because it was so stacked. And some teams think that it wasn't the hardest land, and people were thinking that Hong Kong was.
What?
Shout outs to Cloud9 on that one.
That
Just
was-
because
So
they won it
that
doesn't
w-
mean that it was the
that was
hardest
the-
one.
yeah,
That was the
That
one
shit
at
was
Music
8
Festival, right?
games.
it was a showcase.
Yeah, I was
Ugh.
gonna say it was the
How
one that
could
was
they-
at the musical festival for like 2 days, and it did have a lot of teams there. This is true.
Yeah, it
But-
was the 4 third person, 4 first person. I think
Yeah.
that was it. Only
Wow.
8 games.
What a
So-
what a hard competition that was.
Well,
Come
to-
on, man.
be
I
fair.
think Star Ladder was by far
I think it was
The
the most
hardest.
competitive one.
yeah.
Starladder was a bloodbath, to say the least. There was a
Especially
lot of
considering
fun.
you had the 2 parts to it. Like the first weekend was stacked too, and then only the top 8 from that weekend went on. I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't as stacked as the second weekend, obviously, but like, I mean, there was nobody in that was participating in the second week that I could say like, oh, they don't deserve to be there.
I just
Oh, they're
I keep
definitely-
glancing over at chat, and Samty's on fire over there. It's like, who won Starladder?
Yeah, I know.
We're gonna have to get Samty on here sooner or later. He's all about the talk, and I love it. All right.
Sure.
But that being said, Tipo Storm is also like one of the most consistent North American teams. You guys are known for
Yeah.
like always. You might not always get that first spot, but you're always in that top 5 whenever you're coming through. Well, I mean,
Like you're always
yeah.
going into the last day. You always usually have a shot at
Mhm.
getting in first if things go your way.
in my opinion,
Yeah.
we've seen a little bit of a decline in Optic because Optic used to be one of the strong teams, and then they've kind of, I don't know, fizzled lately.
At lands, yes, but lately they've been playing a lot better. I don't know.
Yeah, they've been playing pretty
Matt, you
good. Like
agree?
in Curse, they did really good in Curse Trials. I've been
They-
watching them quite a bit. Yeah.
It's weird because like they didn't no roster changes or anything. It's just I don't know what it is about their play or whatever, but it's just like they flipped a switch and it seems like they're playing a lot better right now. So
They're
doing-
probably mixing together. They're starting to mesh a little bit more, and yeah, I mean it's
Yeah.
PUBG, you know.
I mean,
guys know how
Zampa,
it
you
is.
play against them a lot. Like, what do
They're
you?
doing really well in GLL.
Mhm.
Like they're
Yeah.
consistently.
They
in the
like went
top.
up and then they kind of went down towards the middle of summer, and now they're back on that incline again. Now a team I think that to keep an eye out on is New Envy. Now that they finally did announce one of their new players, it's coming
Yeah,
through
New
there.
Envy's-
That's going to
New
be
Envy's-
a pretty strong team.
New Envy is really scary. I'll tell you, it was really fucking scary. Was Tempo for a hot minute there when they were playing with a sub
Yeah.
Ding
Before
Dong
that-
Donald.
before that sub ended up getting signed to another organization. But that was a scary team.
I gotta
Yeah, it's
follow up
pretty
on this. Hold on. There was some talk whenever PUBG Online said, "Hey, we're coming back and we're gonna be doing some stuff," that the most well-known of all North American organizations might be
Right.
making a return and might be blessing us with more Vanessa Carlton. Is there a chance that
Mhm.
Trigger Happy could return to play some more North America stuff?
Look, I'm not going to get into full blown leaks because obviously, I'm under like an NDA with a lot of big sponsors and a lot of big,
Mhm.
companies. So I don't want to like, breach that contract that I have. But there's a very good chance that Trigger Happy V2 might make an appearance in PUBG Online, and we our new fourth might be a female, but I'm not gonna say
Oh,
who or
gee,
when or
I
what.
I have
But
no idea who that could be.
could not
I
imagine.
mean, look, I'm not allowed to say, like, I get paid a lot of money here.
I'm
So
still
just
I'm still waiting on the
relax.
Trigger Happy shop to open up, the little Etsy shop, so I can buy the home and away jerseys from PGI.
And that's coming soon too.
Okay, okay.
There's a lot of stuff in motion here. Okay, a lot of stuff in
a
motion.
Do you
There's a
parts.
lot of moving parts.
Do you still have those jerseys, by the way? Please tell me you
Yeah, I
kept
do.
those.
Oh,
Is
absolutely.
it
Are they hanging on
framed
the wall?
your wall with
Yeah,
a
is it hanging on the
hanger?
wall?
Yeah.
No, it's in my closet on a hanger though.
Hey, there you
Hey.
go.
Yeah, it's in my closet.
You
I
should
heard a
give one
new
to Zampa.
I heard a new org was coming in.
Ooh.
It starts with 100, and it's Trigger Happy signing into him.
Leaks.
I mean, look,
100
I'm
Rounds
not-
is making his own organization?
No, 100 Thieves. Calling in.
I'm
One
just
of
kidding.
them.
I'm just kidding.
100
I'm not
triggers.
trying to say that Nate Shot and a few of these other guys just followed me on Twitter, but we're getting a lot of offers over here, and we're really big out in Europe and Asia, especially like with the singing and the interview and kind of thing, and
True.
so there's a lot going on over here behind the scenes.
I'm-
That's why I got a wall behind me right now, because normally my computer's facing that way. But if I were to face it that way, you guys would see a lot of stuff that's going on even within my apartment for, upcoming PUBG.
Well, I mean, the
Yeah.
Vanessa Carlton tweet was huge. You guys were getting attention in Japan, everywhere else
Sure.
like that. I mean, your jerseys. I mean, you are an international sensation to say the least.
I mean, what can I say?
International superstar machine gunner.
Yeah, what can I say? Actually, I can't go on. Like, I don't want to leak any more leaks. You guys are already prying at me here, and it's no good.
All right.
I know.
no
Okay,
more
we
leaks,
guys
no more leaks.
can't do leaks. It's one of the rules of the show. Can't get anybody in trouble though. But I do have to say, it's so nice of you to take Zampa under your wing and like bring him into the fold and mold him into the future
Yeah.
of PUBG that we need here.
Yeah, I mean, like me, I'm too old to keep up with these young cats nowadays, man. They're all freaking hopped up on Adderall and Red Bull and all sorts of other shit. And it's like, I play against them in scrims and all and this other shit, and I just get wrecked now. So, I mean, if I'm gonna be honest, I'm looking to push into like the coaching, possibly caster scene.
Oh,
Like,
you're
just-
trying to come
so,
with this job, huh?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking to do, because I can't keep up with like the Zampas nowadays, the Cadens,
true.
the Pack Caps, and all these other dudes that the hands are twitching and like fucking playing like this and shit. And I can't. I just get wrecked by them. So it is what it is,
So okay, so that's a good segue into another question I had, especially for you, Gunner. So, trying to transition into casting, possibly you said coaching, right? What is it about NA teams in particular that they just seem so averse to having an actual coach?
Well, I mean, honestly, I think one of them would be. I don't. Have we seen much success? I guess coming from coaches in the NA
Have we seen
scene?
any
Like,
real coaches though?
yeah, I mean, I guess like I go. I mean,
I mean, I'm not trying to
Ghost,
be
I
toxic.
guess, with Jabroni, like that he would. I
Jabroni,
think.
yeah.
Yeah, I think he's like.
He's more of an analyst though, isn't he?
Well, I mean, that's still a coach, though. I feel like he does a good job, though, because like,
Yeah.
I mean, just from picking his brain and talking to him a little bit, like I feel like he knows what he's doing, and he actually wants to see his team succeed. So, I mean, props to him. But I mean, and then there's is
mean, who
Marin
else?
still coaching FlyQuest?
Yeah,
Or-
he is.
He is, right? Yeah. So
That's it.
Marin, I think, and then Dignitas has a coach.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
Okay,
so I think there are some, but like I'm not sure, like if I'm not sure how hands-on or.
But then you see, like, what has Dignitas done, really? And FlyQuest, what have they done?
I don't think
I'm not
that
sure, like-
Being
currently
real here.
coaches have a place in the scene for NA because I don't think that they have the current mindset.
I think
Coaches aren't bad, but it isn't for all teams.
I think that you kind of hit on it
it's-
right there, where we have to figure out what the approach for a coach is supposed to be. In the early days of an
Yeah, that's
esport,
what I'm saying.
you
like-
kind of want more of like a I get it. I made this comment in the earlier podcast. Is it's almost like the coach is the dad, the manager is the mom, and then they just take care of the players. Like it's not necessarily always necessary for the coach to be like, okay, guys, let me break down and create these plays like in normal sports. Sometimes just having something whenever there's like internal disputes, having that outside
Yeah.
person you can talk
No.
to,
Hold
or
on,
keeping
bullshit.
things directed.
Sampy, coach doesn't make that big of a difference. No, your coach doesn't make that big of a difference.
Whoa!
All right.
What
There
the?
are coaches out there that can make a difference, but you have to have a coach that actually can coach, and B, you have to have players that are coachable. And
Yeah.
it works like that on literally every competitive sport on earth. I don't care who the fuck you are. Like, just because it's esports doesn't mean that a coach is worthless now because the players just know better. Like, this isn't fucking 1960s NBA with, Bill Russell as the player coach. Like, it doesn't work that way. You can't expect to succeed consistently like that.
Well,
You were
it goes back to what
Hold
we're
on.
saying. Coaches are kind of like different strokes, for lack of a better. Every team is going to have a little bit of a different one. Like you can have like a super analytical coach, but you could also have just more like a getting everybody going in a certain direction. Like
Yes.
every single time we talk about coaches, man, chat's always just like, ah, they just go crazy on it. Go Gunner, you got a topic
So,
on it.
all right. So, like, what I guess when I brought up this coaching thing, what I mainly want to do is like, so if you're a signed professional on an org, like you really should have a general grasp of like what's going on and like what you did wrong and what your team did wrong, right? Now, the main thing is with the teams is if they're actually able to talk about it with each other and take like constructive criticism, right?
That's yes.
So now what I want to do is I want to join a roster as a coach that actually has potential, right? I mean, obviously, it's a coach's dream to join a team that's already pretty successful, right? However, I want to join a team that is already, doing well and try to like keep them well by like coaching more of like the mentality and just keeping them positive and like because most of these players like I'll take let's see, I'll use Envy for instance, all right, because I think they're a uh, perfect mix of guys, right?
Mm.
They're all so good and they're actually succeeding, right? They don't have a coach. Like right now, they don't even have like a fourth, but they're still able to do well.
Well, they've got
Now,
Pixel. Pixel's kind of managing and taking care of a lot of stuff in the background, but he's not officially coaching, true. But he
right,
definitely
right.
feels that like I'm going to be an outside perspective and like give feedback, but not in-game feedback. So he could almost be considered a coach in that style, depending on how you want to define coach.
Yeah. So, yeah. So I want to join a team that is kind of like that, a successful team that's already doing well and keep them there by coaching their mentality and keeping them positive after a bad game. Because in
Yeah.
PUBG, you could win a game and then you can get like, last place and a last place. And then your mentality is just shot and that's
And
it from
you
there. And a
start
lot of
figuring
teams
it
you'll
out.
see do bad.
Yeah.
But that's where I want to be there to kind of, coach them into keeping the right mindset to do well again. And like it's like in the Marine Corps, that was a large part of my job was coaching people's mindsets and like teaching them to stay positive and have, a positive influence on Marines like below you. And it just if you were able to do that, you were able to see like a squad succeed, like through training and even in combat.
Yeah.
So
Morale is so important in games specifically like this, and naturally, like you're talking about carrying it over from like the military. That style of strategy, like being able to have that open communication lines, because it happens so much in esports where it's like you were talking about. Somebody steps on somebody else's shoe, and now there's this new fucking esports drama where it's like people are infighting in their own team. Sometimes just having people get focused, because we're talking about like series that we're doing right now. They're like 4 to 6 games a day that could sometimes
Yeah.
happen for a week. And so
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
essentially staying at a hotel in another country you're not used to, stuck with just dealing with your own players. Tempers are going to flare. People are going to get mad. You have a bad game, and then you tilt off the face of the earth. Even Samty just mentioned a second ago. It's so easy to tilt in PUBG, whenever you need somebody to kind of like rebound, you need to be that outside factor so that way everybody else either unites behind or can get mad at or whatever else along those lines that's not in the game, so that way everybody's synergy can keep pushing through.
Yeah, and I mean, look, any number of things that a coach can be there for, and like one of the things, and I've talked to Jabroni about this before. One of the things that sucks about PUBG is if shit goes really sideways and your team ends up going out and dying early. Well, then now they have whatever 15, 20 minutes
20
to
minutes.
sit there and just talk to each other. And then the finger pointing and blame game and like what
Yeah,
went wrong,
exactly.
who did what, and that's the kind of thing that can turn a team, get a team tilted, or at least get one player tilted. And if one player gets tilted, that's going to affect the whole team, right?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
having a coach there that can not only kind of serve as an arbiter between everybody talking, but also kind of be that person that says, look, if things go wrong, I'll take the blame. The blame is on me because the game plan was all done through me. Everything was done through me. And when shit goes wrong, it's all my fault. Whereas, when shit goes right, it's you guys executing. You guys did really well, and
Yeah,
you guys are coming
exactly.
together. So it's having those four players all be all part of the same side and part of the same team all the time. And if anything goes wrong, it's always going to be on the coach manager.
Well,
Or
Mhm.
how
coach.
does it work with you, Zampa? Like you guys have not had a coach or a manager or any of that other stuff, and you guys have been a team for quite a while. Do you guys have like certain ways that you handle communications or disputes or anything like that that happens inside of your team?
Well, every once in a while, you do have to say "shut the fuck up" and have a guy listen up. But other than that, we seem to handle it pretty well. We're pretty civil about it. I mean, every once in a while, a person will boil over, and you just tell them, shut up, and eventually the person will calm down, and they'll realize their mistakes, and you
I
just
mean, eventually, yeah. But what happens if that happens in game one of a 4 or 5 game
well,
set?
we've had it happen before.
I
Definitely have. And
like how he says it with a laugh. Yeah, that's happened.
we kind of had it happen in Vegas and stuff. Well, it's just like you have to keep your calm. That's like what we did, and eventually someone will man up and take the blame, and then everyone will say, "Well, it's not your fault. I did blah blah blah," and then eventually you all come to like conclusion that what you did was wrong, and you'll get over it. That's what we do.
Well, and that's a big problem inside of PUBG specifically is there's a lot of times you can make the right call that would work in that moment like 90% of the time. But just because of
Yeah.
outside factors and third party and all this other stuff, the play that
It
should
doesn't.
work suddenly doesn't work. And you end up with this problem of, okay, now, so a lot of people, you see this, specifically people that are like trying to work their way up the leaderboards and all that other stuff, they go, oh, well, we're just never going to do that again because that was a bad call. No, it was just a
Yeah.
bad call in that one situation because of one outside event. And
Or
sometimes having those types
it
of
wasn't even a
conversations are
bad
useful.
call. It's
Yeah.
just the other team just made a god tier play. Like they managed to pull something together. I mean, you go back
Yeah.
and you look at it and you just be like, holy shit, there's really nothing we could have done there.
Sometimes you
it
make the
was-
right play, and it
Yeah.
just doesn't work.
And
have
sometimes
to
you
be
make the
able to
wrong play and
accept
it works
that.
out beautifully. We've seen that happen quite a few times in PUBG
Oh, yeah.
where you're just like, what the fuck are these people doing? And how did that work? But hey, PUBG things, that's what you gotta love about it.
Yeah, it's just
Sure.
it is random as shit. Like you see some wacky stuff work and some wacky stuff not work. Like, but that's what makes it fun.
So we've
It is.
got the kind of build up that's making its way towards the the official PUBG League. We've been hearing all the rumor mill go around, and we've been talking about like, okay, there's probably going to be qualifiers that are going to be going through. How is it all going to come through? Coaches are one of those factors that people keep saying that they'll get whenever they get into the league. And we were
Right.
kind of talking about this beforehand that we probably think that should happen a little bit beforehand. But what other stuff do you think that North America specifically, like, I think that as far as infrastructure, EU tends to feel like it's a little bit ahead. Mainly, I think that they have a lot more events that are happening locally, so that helps them out a little bit. North America, we mostly end up having to travel to EU for our events. What are some things that you guys think
we
that
do.
North America specifically should do to start trying to prepare for a much longer running series in an official league capacity?
Okay, so this is like I was talking about it the other night. I think I was playing with Taryn and a few other people, and like I personally think it shouldn't all be like it. I think it can't all be qualifiers. Like a little people, love qualifiers and like it's great. Everyone has an equal chance. Like I think honestly, maybe at the very most, and like maximum 4 teams should be able to qualify for the pro league, and the rest need to be invited. Like because you can't have some of these orgs like bigger orgs in North America not making it into the pro league, like because especially because how random PUBG can be. Like I know obviously, especially in EU, there's a few teams that you can almost guarantee are just going to do well, or they're going to perform. In North America, I feel like it's kind of getting there, and it's like brewing up to the point where like we do have a few teams that are consistently doing well. Not to the extent I think that some like the EU teams are. However, like I mean, if you have these like if you have online qualifiers, especially like for a pro league, that just doesn't make any sense at all, right? Because people could hack, people could do whatever.
Yeah.
But you have these orgs that have had teams for a year or or over a year in some points, and then if they have a bad day or a couple bad days or something, all of a sudden they're not in the pro league. But they're more than likely 100% better than some of the teams that may have qualified. Like it just in order for the NA Pro League to succeed, like I think you need to have like fans be able to back orgs that they like. Like you don't in no other game do you see like random teams with players that you don't know just come in and all of a sudden be the fan favorites and people are all like kind of rooting for them. Like it's just you need to have like
The only time that ever happens is when it's the exception to the rule, right?
yeah, exactly. That's it.
He brings up an interesting point because, like, naturally we have roster royal going on right now. Everybody's going to be signing everybody. It's probably going to be year-long contracts. What happens if you have this year-long contract, your organization doesn't make it in?
Yep.
That's going to kind of hurt the org, for lack of a
Right.
better term.
And then what? They're going to drop their current team and pick up a team that made it into the pro league of people that they don't know. Like it's just silly. Like teams need to be invited. Like,
but see, here's the other problem with it is, I'll be honest. Like I can think of maybe 5, 6 teams that I would invite, but we're going to need way more than 5 or 6 teams. So we'll need still have like 10 qualifiers come through, even if they go with a route like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
But I mean, look at what happened with PGI, right?
Yeah, I was about to say PGI with FaZe.
Yeah, with FaZe.
Yeah.
Like you missed out on FaZe. You missed. I mean, we had out of the 3 American teams that we sent, one of them was a major org, and the other 2, no offense to either of those teams, but very very small fan bases, if any fan base. And
Right.
and but meanwhile on the Korean side, they got to send their teams through the qualifier of their leagues. Like, why can't we do that here? We have leagues. We have PUBG Online. We got Oz. We got GLL. Like, why was it for? It was for PGI, the 2 Korean teams, or however many, I can't remember how many Korean teams, but they got to go through Africa. It was the top teams from Africa, the Africa League. So like, why can't you use that as your qualification instead of this like BS? 8 games here, 10 games here, whatever. That PUBG is a game where
Yeah.
on any given weekend, it's peaks and valleys, right? Sometimes a team that's really good just has a bad weekend or an off weekend and they don't get through.
well, that's all esports and sports in general, though. I mean,
Yeah, but you can't base your year long, or I mean however many month long first season of your league off of an 8-game qualifier or 10-game qualifier. Even
I'm willing to
20-game
bet it'll be
qualifier.
way more qualifying rounds than that. Like, I don't think that it'll be
I honestly think 20 is even too short.
See, I don't know. I found the fact that with PUBG
pro league.
going that high, it feels like you end up with dominance that starts kicking in at a certain stage. Like that's what I'm most afraid of the PUBG League is you end up having teams that are dominant, right? Like if we talk about North America, we talk about EU, doesn't matter the region, you know that okay, these are probably going to be the teams that are going to consistently place high. And then you end up with people taken away in the leaderboard. So if you have a league, we're going to assume let's just say 2 months, right? 2 months of matches every weekend. That's 8 weeks. Let's just say you're running 4 games a day. Think about the amount of rounds that is. How do you make it interesting at the halfway point whenever you've got, I don't know, Tempo Storm in first place with 1,000-point lead over everybody else? And what happens at that next stage? Like, how do you keep viewers interested in being like, okay, what happens this week is important in comparison to what happened to last week? Like how do we rebound and how do we get to finals and what happens in that regard? Like, I almost feel like you need to have 2 different leagues that are going up, and then you get to the finals by having like the top people of these guys compete against each other to get like I don't know, but then you end up with 32-ish teams, and that's a ridiculous amount of players to keep track of.
I mean, I think a way that they could do it is by almost hosting like what's going on with League of Legends right now, like a world stage. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So the top 4 teams from the NA Pro League or the EU Pro League, and then like in Asia, it goes into like a world stage where like Worlds goes on, League of Legends Worlds goes on for like a month or more or something.
Well,
so
see,
it's
but
like
that's great. But how do you keep people enthralled for what would be the I don't know the LCS regular splits, right? Whenever everybody's playing every game every single time, you're going to end up with people that just start taking away everything, and they end up at the top of the leaderboard. Like, how do you, like, if you're at the bottom of the leaderboard, how do you ever make it back in, or how do you make, again, the 30th round feel
I
as
mean,
influential as the first round?
I mean, that's
that's in any
traditional
esport,
sports though,
right?
Or,
Yeah.
Like, I mean, football plays 16 games, right? But then you got basketball plays what 86.
But see, this is different
Baseball's
because it's a team versus a
162.
team. Like whenever you're dealing with a
Yeah.
team versus a team, that's one thing because naturally then the next time it's this team versus a different team. With this
Ha-
league, it's
Was-
going to be the same teams constantly playing again. Zampa, you seem like you got
Yeah.
something.
Well, I don't know what H1's doing, but I don't think it's working that well, and I hope we don't do that route. Because they have like land stages, and I don't think they have any online. They have just like 1 day a week where they're playing currently, I believe. And it's like just for like 2 months, I believe. And I don't think that route will work for PUBG. And it's like consistently like if a team's doing well, they're like going to skyrocket and just snowball past on the leaderboard. And I don't think that's like going to be a good thing for PUBG as an esports. I think people like to see that a team is not dominating, but they have a chance to come back, like
Yeah.
an underdog.
That's
I
the
mean,
big thing that I'm trying to figure out. Like, how do you make these later rounds feel important? Like, and
have relegations would be one. Like, I mean,
yeah,
having like the bottom four teams face relegations is, I think, one of those ways, because obviously the casters and the focus a lot could be on, a team obviously not being relegated. So that would be one. Obviously, qualifying for a bigger stage, like I was saying with like the worlds, that would be another. And then also just having it's PUBG in general. So I don't. I personally don't think that one team is just going to consistently come out there and just dominate, 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 dominate. So there's always going to be some other kind of wow factor that happens, but it needs to happen with orgs or like orgs that are established and not random teams. Otherwise, the pro league won't succeed. Like you can't not have like Optic or
You need those fan
Envy,
bases.
Tempo. You need you need those C9. You need those fan bases within the pro league for it to grow. So like when someone told me like it was, oh yeah, it's all going to be qualifiers, like I almost lost my shit. I was like, you have to be kidding me. Like it's unbelievable if that's actually how it's going to be. But
well, that's the whole
it
thing
is what
too.
it is.
Is we've faced this problem in PUBG on a regular basis, and that's one of the reasons why we do this podcast. Is it's so hard to get to know players and teams in PUBG in comparison to all other esports. Like in like okay, let's say CS:GO, League of Legends, take your pick. It's like these 4 to 6 guys versus these 4 to 6 guys, and you can do like these little packet breakdowns. And during the downtime, you can be like, oh, this is MachineGunner, he has this background of this, and this is Zampa, he's got this background in
Right.
this. But in PUBG, you don't have time to really deep dive into that type of stuff, so it makes it feel very impersonal in comparison to other esports. Like I thought SOE did a great job of like trying to bridge that gap with like their videos that they made for like Andy, and I think that they made one for Profi as well. But I think that we need a lot more content. Like having the orgs is step one. Like whenever you tune in and you're like, I don't know who to root for, but I like Optic, so I'm gonna root for Optic this round. That's step one of I've just now started watching a new esport, right? Yeah, I'm familiar with this org, so I'm gonna root for them. Then you continue to watch it, and usually it's either personalities or play styles that keep people watching. Well, right now
Mhm.
it's kind of hard to follow play styles because we have to follow all the teams, and we don't really get a chance to showcase a lot of personality, just again, due to the amount of players. So I think that's the big handicap is trying to make PUBG a little bit more personal and get people to care about people on an emotional level. Like you can name a CS:GO player and talk about their personality. You can name a League of Legends player and talk about their personality. We don't really have that yet inside of PUBG, and I think that's something we really need.
Yeah.
We don't have enough people that stream consistently
Yeah.
or regularly. We don't have enough people that are willing to do shit like this.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say.
Stuff like that. I mean, for fuck's sake, you had people running away from Dave at Mustache Dave when he was doing interviews. Like that is I was telling him earlier, like that's the easy. You want to get another extra 35 40 50 followers on your Twitch channel, do a fucking interview with Mustache Dave. Like it doesn't cost you anything, and you can kind of have fun with it and show some personality, and people will want to actually watch you.
Yeah, you
And then
gotta
that's
you
gonna
gotta
bring
build it.
people
Like
in.
you gotta build like you have to build like a personal kind of brand. Like if you wanna, if you want people to cheer for you, you know what I mean? Like for instance, like at the PGI, I like when I went back to look at the VODs of it, there was so many people rooting for Trigger Happy. I had no freaking clue who the hell they were. I've never seen them on my stream, on Terran's stream.
Yeah.
I didn't know who the hell they were, but I mean, they liked Light Up Shoes. They like singing. Like, I'm not saying pro teams should go out there and sing, but like, do something like this, like a podcast, go, stream on Twitch, promote yourself, try and build a personality that people can follow and people could be behind. And like, that's how you'll start seeing success. That's how you'll start bringing other people into following your team or backing you and cheering for you. And like,
it's not even just personal success. It's if you want this, if we're being real, if you want this league, this PUBG competitive thing to keep lasting, we need more viewers. That's
Not
the
only
bottom
that,
line.
Well,
you
again, we
need
need
shorter
financial
matches.
stability. This is kind of
as
true.
well.
I kind
Like,
of agree with that.
I think you need a smaller map with faster rounds. Like, I want to say 15-minute rounds. Like, that would be ideal in this situation.
Well, you want it to
But
be a certain
I don't know how you
span.
would
Because think
be
about
able
like
to do that.
you want to have the stream last for about 4 hours, right? So that way people can tune in and it's not instantly just dropping off, right? So you
Yeah.
want to have it run about that period. So you don't want it to always be filled, but you also don't want to just keep chain going games. I think a big part of that is figuring out the early game, for lack of a better term. The early game right now is if you again we talked about this a little bit earlier on the other part of the other podcast is when you've watched like 4 games of PUBG, you almost feel like you don't need to watch any of the early game in PUBG after that because you already know it's just going to be looting, first
Right.
rotation into circle. Not a lot of people are probably going to die in that rotation. It's not until mid game or end game that people care. But whenever you see new people tune in to end game of PUBG, you just watch the viewership spikes, and people are like, "What
oh
the
yeah,
fuck
they
is
go
happening?
crazy.
This is insane! I love it." And then we follow that up with the beginning of the next round, which is just looting, and people are like, "What the fuck? Well, where was that? I was just watching." So
Yeah.
how do we get past that? I don't know. I almost feel like maybe having the analyst desk continue to talk while the looting phase is going on, like it's just like a little mini thing in the corner while analyst desk is talking about like
Yeah.
what they expect to have happen inside that round and treat it like the early game isn't like that big of a factor.
Like a
And then the
golf.
mid game comes in, then start in the actual casting. I don't know. There's like a million ideas. I don't know which one of them are good.
I mean, we were
Yeah.
talking earlier with Avenger, and he was saying, one of the things that they were doing in Korea is 6x loot. I mean, I think
Yeah.
you could shorten the game
Yeah.
up a lot if you do 6x loops, cut out the first circle, go immediately to second circle. I mean, you could probably cut a good 6, 7, 8 minutes out of
Yeah.
the first part of the early
I
part of the
think
game.
Yeah.
I think that's what honestly needs to happen. I think the loot needs to get buffed up more than what it is, and that'll force people into rotating early, and also like getting into skirmishes early as well. Now, obviously, it'll still give everybody the same, the same, I guess, advantages, because like wherever you go is going to have more loot. So get the loot and then go, and it's going to force a lot of teams, like for instance, like we looted Milta, like the amount of time it actually takes for 4 people to get looted from Milta, like is really it's long, so like with a lot more loot spawning in there, then yeah, we'd be able to rotate earlier, we'd be coming across teams earlier, and like it should make it a little easier, that, and maybe making the first circle is pretty big, right? Make it a little smaller, and then
Just a
that'll
little bit.
consolidate teams a little bit. Yeah, like
That's what I
not too
think.
much.
Yeah, don't like
not too
mass shrink
much.
it because we don't want to make
Yeah.
it to where it's like, oh my god, like circle blessing round 1, I win the game.
Right?
But-
Yeah, no, not like
I
that.
mean, Samty's saying that it increases the randomness, I guess, because of the rotations that it would involve, really. But
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's something that you could adjust for, right? And you don't have to. It's all, it has to do with timings, right? If you could get, we talked to Avenger, Avenger, Mini Mint, Scoom, Yannick, all those guys in EU that had put in all this work trying to get the circle settings and loot settings correct. I mean, if we could kind of sit down and start working on something like that to try to start finding a way that you could speed the game up, that is also, the players don't feel like they get just screwed if the circle doesn't fall on them, or they get screwed when the circle does fall on them. It's there's ways to do it. I feel like we just haven't really thought about doing it yet because we're so stuck with wanting to keep things kind of the way they are. Now, the other thing you got to think about too is you don't want to change the competitive game so far from the regular game that it casual
Well-
viewers aren't even going to recognize what the fuck we're even playing.
The
out
end
there.
is fine. I think that everybody agrees that the mid game and the end game of PUBG is fine.
Yeah.
It's just the early game. And in my opinion, even if it's just increasing the speed, like decreasing the amount of time that safe zones are active for like the first 3 circles, because again, pro players should feel pressured, in my opinion. Like, you want to showcase you are the best. You want to be able to drop, loot, get what's necessary, and then get to transition. You should be able to do it faster than normal matchmaking players. You should be able to do it much easier. And
I mean,
I think that if we could reduce those times there, maybe shrink the circles just a little bit, maybe that's the way to go. But again, I don't know what what the
I
best idea is yet.
mean, because there's so many different ways you could do it between circle size. I mean, shrink time. You
we
know,
already did that.
Zampa's got an
yeah, I mean,
idea.
We
it's-
cut off minutes already, and we shrunk down first circle size. You can tell because it's like, I don't know, 70% of the normal pug match size,
Mm.
and like it reduces RNG in that sense. But it also, like, we have like, I think total of like 3 to 4 minutes cut off already of normal
Mhm.
match
Normal
time,
match
and
time,
which is
yeah.
what PUBG Corp adapted to their settings for the first circles already.
I feel like 20 minutes is the holy grail here. to be
If we
honest.
could somehow
25 is my
pop
opinion.
it down into 20 minutes to 15, would be amazing on a smaller map with
15
less
is
teams.
too
And-
low, I
15,
think.
Well,
as a
I mean,
caster,
on
I'll
a
tell you,
smaller
15
map,
minutes
it
is
wouldn't
not
be
enough
that
time.
bad.
You can't
A smaller map,
tell a
yeah.
story in
Smaller map
15
I can
minutes
buy.
because
Yeah.
that's the big factor with it is you have to have time for emotional connection to a player and or to teams and stuff like that. And with that many people dying, think about that. If 15 minutes, that means that people are dying on average 4 players per minute.
No,
somewhere
no,
around
no,
there?
no, no. Less teams.
Less
Less teams, and
okay.
you swap it out. It would be on a smaller map.
Like a 10 team
You
map.
couldn't have, yeah, maybe, yeah, that would be,
8 to
that wouldn't
10
be
maybe.
bad. That wouldn't be bad. Just
mean-
basically kind of cutting in half.
There's been some talk about trying to do something along those lines. Maybe not on Sandhawk, but maybe whatever the next map is that comes through. Shrink it down just a little bit more, make the circles a little bit more cruel. But that being said, maybe that could also kind of solves one of the problems of it. We talk about how hard it is to get people to feel personally connected to teams. If you're only dealing with 8 to 10 teams, that kind of helps there. But PUBG is the weirdest game on the face of the earth because it's the only esport I've seen where people are actively saying less teams, less teams, less teams, less teams, which are creating like less jobs for players, for lack of a better term. But everybody is after the goal of trying
Yeah.
to make a better show, is what we get, because that's kind of what esports is. That's what all sports is it's a show to a certain degree.
Mm.
Yeah, but the players have to want that as well. You know what I
the
mean?
players had to
This is
buy
true.
in for sure.
Yeah, like because otherwise, like all these, everyone's gonna be. You test out these new settings, you test out this, test out that. Like unless they're forced to really play it, like if they're so used to playing this one set way, they're probably gonna want to stick with that. But
Yeah,
now
look at
it's
3PP.
Yeah, look at Rangel
yes,
and Miramar.
exactly.
I mean,
Yeah,
people
and
are
that as
still
well.
bitching about Miramar.
Let's be real too, that the orgs that have really spent the time to try to, we have a lot of orgs that don't feel like they really give a shit about PUBG and are just doing it to do it. And then we have orgs that really care. And you can tell that the orgs that really, really care, they spent a lot more time in investing in the things that we're talking about, like better spectating, like those personality like packets that they're putting out, more information about the players. And like we saw that PGI Berlin and WSOE that really focused in on these things, they had great viewership. Like there was a period of time whenever I was watching the viewership in the back at WSOE that we actually had at a PUBG event higher viewership than the LCS that was on at the same time. It was only for a little period of time, but that means that something was going right there. Something good
Yeah,
happened.
exactly. Something
And
is.
we need to
Better
replicate
than,
that more. And it feels like we stepped away from
2,000
that.
like we usually get.
It's like we found the path, and then all of a sudden we were like, nah, fuck the path to viewership. Let's go over here and do this other thing instead.
They also had like for instance, Dave during the middle of the games, he was
Mhm.
talking, like he was getting people involved. Like people were actually like, loving it. Like as much as some people would be like, oh no, it's stupid, blah, blah, like what else? Like no, like that he was doing exactly what he was supposed to do.
And can we talk about
I
for a
thought it was
second?
great.
I gotta say, first LAN appearance for Dave. That was the
Yeah,
first
he was-
time.
Yeah,
he
it
was-
was
that was his
fantastic.
first time ever
Killing
being
Nailed it.
behind
30
camera.
minutes of downtime by himself. Like
That
Yeah,
is
he's-
fucking respect to show up and perform that hard and that well.
Exactly. Yeah. No, props to him, and especially like now, like you were saying earlier, some of the players were like running away from him and stuff. Like I mean, like, I don't know.
That
I
happened
just
at
say,
GLL because the setup at GLL was made so that they could do that. Like they could go outside.
Mhm.
They knew he couldn't go outside with the cameras and mics, so everybody just kept going
oh,
outside.
okay, yeah.
Whereas at
yeah.
WSOE, everybody was stuck in the same spot pretty much.
But you know,
they
it
couldn't
worked though.
avoid it.
Them being stuck, it worked because he was
Mhm.
able to bring content, and also they had those the personal player kind of interviews and stuff like that. Like that's something people are interested too. Like who would have known that Balak was a chef? You know what I mean? Like that's you don't know that
I
shit.
mean,
like just
yeah.
watching the game, but that may make someone become a fan of Balak.
People should be lining up to get an interview with Mustache.
Exactly.
Dave.
Yep. That's exactly it. They should be lining up to talk to him, and they should be lining up to do a personal player interview if they want to continue to succeed as a player, and even after PUBG is a thing.
Yeah.
Well, with anyone, I would say, like, even in the post-game interviews, like, I love to see it mixed up a lot. Like, I know that usually Tempo Storm, you guys tend to send down Valiate on a regular basis, Zampa.
We did, Dre.
Yeah, and Dre a couple of times. But, like, I always thought that you'd be great to go down and do an interview. Like, you have this very aloof, good sense of humor to you, just stepping down and being like, what'd you get? Like, congratulations on your win. And just being like, yeah. Just stuff like that is
Yeah.
good, you know?
Yeah.
Like I always think that like right now we're still at the early stage of an esport, so everybody's still kind of afraid of the camera. But if
I mean,
we're going to be doing the
look at
league,
McCoy.
if you want
Look
the
at what
league spot,
McCoy
you're
showed.
going to be on the camera. You're not going to get away from it. If somebody's paying you to be a part of this league for quite a long period of time, your job is essentially to make content packets from that point forward and play
Walking
well.
billboard.
Yeah, you are
Yeah.
essentially going to be walking around being like, I'm going to talk about whatever you want to talk about.
You
Yes.
can
Yeah. So I think Smurf actually brought up a good point. Like he said, the only thing he didn't like was having like when Dave came over to the teams that went out 16th, right? So
Oh, yeah.
that's I understand that. And I can
Yeah.
completely relate with that. So that's just something that within the next. I mean, you're fucking laughing because we've been out 16th a few times, right?
No, I was just
I see you
because
over
you're
there.
like, I can relate to that.
I know. I mean, I can.
know where it is.
Like, no shit, I really can. Now, like that's something that for the next event, like you kind of obviously make sure like he doesn't do. You know what I mean? Like focus on
I'll be real.
interviewing the players that had a lot of
I'll-
action or
I'll
something.
be real.
You know?
No, I think he should do it. There is a certain amount of emotion that happens whenever you're at that stage. Like, whenever like, there's always those cameras. Like, whenever a team gets eliminated or something like that, in an event, and you just kind of see them just be like, they deflate, and you can feel how bad they wanted it and they didn't get it. Being able to catch those moments can also make fans. Like, some people don't want to always root for the winner. Sometimes they want to root for the underdog. Sometimes they want to root for the people that just lost and they feel bad because they relate to it. And so those types of things still do help. I know it's an uncomfortable situation, but in my opinion, it's still a good opportunity for players. And I don't think that we should shy away from those types of moments.
Yeah, and I mean,
Yeah,
you don't have to,
I mean,
you
I
don't have to
guess
sit down
so.
and talk to the entire team. You just
Yeah.
have your team has that one guy that says, "Look, I'll go talk to him." We'll, and you can. I mean, if you're really tilted, you could just do some prepackaged bullshit like, oh, things just the call just didn't work out. We're gonna come back and we're sorry for disappointing the fans. We'll be back next game just as stronger than
Yeah.
ever. Blah blah blah. Cut
Mhm.
done.
What heck
But
said it?
yeah. I mean, it's still like it's something that you can make it whatever you want to, right? It's just having that opportunity to get that FaceTime and get people remembering who you are or knowing who you are other than just a name on the screen. That's kind of where esports is really different than other traditional sports. Is you don't really get a whole lot of FaceTime on screen, right?
Yeah.
Like I can say Tom Brady, you know exactly what Tom Brady looks like, right? But nobody knows what fucking Zampa looks like. Nobody knows, and well, I guess we do now because you got a sweet little.
We got a
there.
picture, but even then, we're
But-
looking at a little Tempo Storm logo in our conversation here.
Yeah, but I mean, just
Yeah.
getting that FaceTime out there and just kind of getting people to know, who you are and what you look like, and kind of connecting to you in that way, other than just a name on the screen, is
Mhm.
super important if you want to try to
Yeah.
have any staying power.
Yeah, I think like I think if Dave came up to me like after we got 16th at the WSOE, I would just be like, yeah, I mean we played shitty, we made a lot of mistakes, and we'll try and do a little better next game, and that's it. We we had bad comms, we did. I mean, I would personally be okay with it, but I'm just saying other players, I think that's what keeps them away from wanting to I guess, be on camera and do.
Well, in esports, we shy away from emotions for whatever reason.
Yeah,
to a
people
certain
don't
degree.
express themselves exactly.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's just for fear of like how people will retaliate back against you because you're afraid like, oh, well, I can't show weakness because then people won't think I'm a good player or something else along those lines.
It makes you more human.
Yeah, and once you're more human, you're more relatable. Now that being said, it all depends on approach too. Like, let's just say Dave is doing an interview with somebody that just got 16th. Can't still be like, so hey guys, how you feeling today? You know what I mean? It's got to be like, hey, that was a rough
And he didn't. I
game.
mean, he didn't do
Yeah,
that.
and
I
he
mean,
did,
he was
but
very. I thought he was pretty like somber. I
I'm
guess.
just saying, like, you gotta be careful about how you do the approach because we have had that happen in the past of PUBG where it was just like, hey, that round sucked for you. Tell me more about it. You know, that's that you can't do that.
I mean, that's honest though. Like personally,
Yeah.
like that's I wouldn't give a shit if we got last place and Dave or whoever walked up to me and be like, you guys played that really fucking bad. Like what happened there? I would just be like, yeah, you're right. But I mean, that's me. But
So-
this is
you're
what it
more
is.
You
mature
can tell the
than
phase boys
some
weren't
of the-
feeling it on day one of WSOE.
Yeah, you're definitely more mature than some of the players that would get interviewed.
I think he just called us old.
Wow.
Damn.
Yikes.
God, Zampa, so
So-
savage. Shit.
Yeah.
All
He's
right.
not wrong.
So there's a question that has been in the back of my mind for quite a while, and I always forget to ask it. Gunner, why the fuck Vanessa Carlton of all songs to sing did you guys decide to sing that one? That was just like the most random of all.
Shit, I don't even know, dude. Like,
You
I'm
can
not
write it
actually
down.
sure. I think we were just talking about something about downtown or something like that, and then all of a sudden, I don't know, I felt like singing, so it's just and then it kind of flowed with the team, and then it just happened to be at a perfect time, like they just started recording the comms at the right time, and like, shit.
you knew
I
that-
mean,
you
I don't
knew
know
that was
why the hell
coming
it was
too,
Vanessa
right?
Carlton. Well, we knew that we were one of the teams chosen to have their comms like kind of picked or whatever, and which actually surprised us because we thought they were going to pick like a lot of the bigger orgs and stuff like that. But I mean, granted we are a bunch of clowns, so it's like all right,
we
why
may
not,
have
right?
told them who the good people to go to would be.
Yeah. Well, it worked out,
I have
like,
no idea how you keep getting these content packages, Gunner. No idea
right.
at all. How on earth
Like,
did you guys get selected for
No.
Broadcaster Royale and a package?
shit, I don't know. I mean, that was actually. I'm gonna be honest. That was Taryn. I mean, that had nothing to do with me. Like, 'cause she's a good streamer, and I'm a shitty streamer, and like, she's good at PUBG, and I'm shit at PUBG. So she got picked for everything. I'm just gonna be honest there.
Yeah.
And then she
Fair.
just dragged me along like a fucking suitcase. But I'm with it, so I don't care. But yeah, as far as the Vanessa Carlton thing goes, honestly, no idea how it was that song that we picked. However, we were singing like randomly throughout the time, and it just literally was perfect timing and perfect comms that like they just caught it at the right time. But yeah,
So
It's pretty-
Zampa,
And the rest is history.
what does Tempo Storm sing? What is your song?
I don't think we sing. We just like meme the whole time.
Oh, okay.
Shocking.
we were-
I'm
Shocking.
PUBG PUBG players memeing while competing. I've never heard this story. Please tell me
It
more.
was pretty great. Pretty great.
All right, I want to ask a question. Okay, so for people that don't, I guess they watch a lot of competitive PUBG, but they don't necessarily maybe don't follow the scene as much. But so there seems to always be a rash every time we go through one of these events. There's like for some reason running over teammates
Come on.
happens so
Come on.
fucking much.
I remember Zampa got ran
Why
over,
didn't
like,
you have
3
this
times, I
conversation when
think.
we had Froz on a second ago? That would have been the perfect
Oh,
person to talk to.
It's too easy. No, that's low hanging fruit, Matt. We don't go for that.
We didn't?
But why?
He goes
why,
for the
so what is
direct
it-
strike right into me.
So no, so what is it? Why would you say is it vehicle physics? Is it just the fact that you're constantly like you're trying to move, you're trying to stop, and you power slide and you just hit the button, you get a little too antsy in the pantsy, you hit the F button a little too quick and get knocked, or
I think
what?
it's
What
more
is it
European
about that?
drivers?
Well, I think
More
it's because,
European.
from what I've seen. Again, I
It
don't know.
happens in NA too, son. Don't even.
Hey,
Yeah, All right, so what
Give
I
that.
tend to see happen is like it's somebody on a motorcycle that crashes somewhere first. They get out to start providing cover fire, and then all the other vehicles just come up back behind it and then just and hit them because they're all slamming into the wall.
Because I'm just gonna say, like, as stupid as it is, kind of funny as it is to look at in hindsight, that has such a big impact on the game
Oh,
when you're actually
100%
playing
does.
it.
Yeah,
You're
And
30
like,
seconds out
yeah,
of the
it's
fight.
like it's automatically like whatever you were in the middle of trying to do, all of a sudden now your timing's thrown completely off. You're at a disadvantage for the time being. And it just seems like it has such a huge impact for it to keep happening over and over and over again. It's just one of those things where I gotta like wonder, like, because I mean, you guys play the game enough. Is it just nerves? I guess.
I don't think it's nerves. I think
Is it
it's
the
just
game?
like awareness. Like
Mm.
people don't have that much situational awareness in some like important situations, like crashing an Alamo, and all of a sudden they're not communicating that they're crashing right or left. Like,
Mm.
and the person stops, and all of a sudden his teammate is bam, crash right into him.
So you're saying that there's space to grow in communication and technique on approaching things. It's almost
There's
like
no
if there was
Wonder if there's
some
why a
role that could
teammate.
help that.
There is no reason why a teammate should get run over during a match,
This is true.
unless
Unless the game
obviously
is
some
glitchy or something.
yeah.
Unless it's
Unless
like
you have the
laggy.
situation at PGI where you hear me yell "what" because my bike ran myself over.
Oh yeah, I remember the tilt that occurred inside of that one. All right, so this leads me to self-nading, just naturally running over people, self-nading.
Self-nading.
You know, when it really actually gets up. But then that led me to a different thought, which was, welcome to my thought process, guys.
Yeah.
Killing team members to deny points. Since we're starting to see so many
You can't
events
deny
that are slowly creeping
point.
that up, do you think that
How
that's
does it?
do you think that that's fair? Do you think that should be something that's allowed? Do you think it should be like a
okay?
penalty if you do it?
Are you saying like there's 5 alive and you're the last person, right?
Or
Is that the
No.
situation?
No,
like you
like
know
there's
that
four
you
of
have a
okay, we're all
teammate
a
that's
squad, right?
down.
Poro goes down, and I don't know, Samty is
I'm
shooting at
unresable.
Poro. I know the fact that Samty is about to kill Poro. He's about to get those 14 points or whatever. So I just turn around, shoot Poro, and be like, "Ha, fuck your
No,
14
he
points."
still gets the
No,
points though.
If
Sometimes,
if
and
if
not in all
Samty
leagues.
knocks Poro, he 100%
Yeah,
gets the
he gets the
points.
points no matter what.
So no
It-
matter what,
What are you gonna
like
do me?
you'd
in
have to
some
kill
of them,
yourself to do it. No, it's 100% that way. It's coded like that.
Yeah, no matter
Yeah.
what, if I get knocked from an enemy player, and no matter how I die, if you walk up, pan me, someone else, like someone on my team shoots and finishes me off, like no matter what, the other team still gets those points. But
maybe,
like, are
maybe
you
I'm
asking
maybe
should
I'm
there
showing
be a
something.
way?
Maybe I'm
All right,
showing
so-
something that isn't there. But no, I was sitting there talking about like, should it be active? Should it be punishable? Should
Yeah,
it
that's
No.
like
what I
what's
was
the
saying.
opinion on it?
I
Like,
don't
should we
think
allow it?
No.
It doesn't matter.
I
No,
think
I don't
okay.
think
So how about in this same vein, right? Same vein. This is kind of a topic that
And
got a
just
lot of
just so everybody doesn't think that I'm insane. There
You're an
was a
idiot.
running conversation at the last event that I was casting where it was blowing up on social media that people were talking about because the fact that the way everything was hand tallied as far as kills went off of something else. So there was a point where whenever they were hand tallying the points, they didn't count the down off of something. They didn't count the down. They counted the kill that came through.
Yeah,
And
that's
so if
not
you're
good.
calculating everything, which happens a lot inside of PUBG, you can end up making these mistakes. And so, yes, I know as far as how it works inside of certain systems, it does, but in other systems, they don't, and you have to be highly
Well,
aware of what's happening.
especially
inside
when the
You
API
pretty
is
much
down.
you pretty much have to go off the leaderboard at the post match. That's why you have multiple observers that take screenshots and then you hand tally off the kills to correct it.
Well, sooner or
okay,
later, we'll be at
so-
a point where API is just glorious. We don't
Well,
have to
I
handle
mean,
it.
Yeah, exactly.
API
It's automatic.
does do it, but some reason PUBG Corp #fix PUBG is basically the reason.
#fix/patch.
All right,
please.
so okay, so where I was going with this. So this has been a debate that's come up a couple of times. Where do you guys fall on the giving points for knocks and for kills?
I think that kill stealing is a big factor in PUBG and it really messes up the points, but I don't know, it's kind of an element that is there for a reason.
Yep.
I don't think you
Everyone
can
has the
overthink it.
opportunity to do it. Like,
Yeah. I mean,
It's just-
everybody
it
had
is
the
what it is, you
opportunity
know
to
what I
do the
mean?
smoke
Like-
glitch too, back when that was a thing.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think you can give points like for knocks just because like I don't know. Like, there's just the game is set up how it's set up. Like, if you kill someone, you get the points for it. But if you knock someone out and someone else takes your kills, you don't get the points for it. Yeah, it sucks, but I'm sure that you have done it to other people as well. Like, I'm sure you've shot it down. Like, I mean, it sucks and it's the worst thing ever. But like, I don't think there's a way to like fix it. I don't know if giving points for knocks is a fix, though. You know, like
Well,
that's
a lot of
just
people
like
have talked about instead of giving points for knocks or kills, give points based off of average damage,
ADR. Yeah.
which I think might be
Yeah,
a
but
better
that's
solution.
trash.
But I don't
To
know.
be
yeah,
honest
shit,
with
man.
you.
I don't
Like,
know.
I could be farming Sampdews in North Gaka from Gaka. He could be popping first aid left and right. I could have 1,000 damage on Sampde alone, and that's one guy. Because you could have a guy that's just sitting in a compound and you're just
Yeah.
tagging a guy in another compound.
That's the thing.
just
Like, people
farming
could
damage.
team at that point. Like, if it comes to the point where like some sort of ADR or knocks for points, like
Mm.
there could be two teams that are scummy that say like, oh hey, you know, if we happen to be in compounds across from each other and we knock each other, let's keep resing each other and farming points. Like, it's just no balance of actual like it being effective. Granted,
Well,
again, like kill
point-
stealing sucks, but
I mean, kills for like getting points for kills has always been this elusive. Oh, it encourages combat. Not really. From
Well,
what
and
I've seen.
I don't like
I don't
the
think it
ADR
modifies it
because
whole much.
it completely cuts out a certain type of way of playing the game, right?
Mhm.
Like there's teams that aren't big fragging teams. What's up, Wiz? There's teams that
Yeah,
are
he's
not that play for position more than anything, right? They try to play the position to get into the late game with 4 men alive so that they can have the best chance of winning the game, right? But not all teams, play in that heavy fragging style, and I think that you need to be able to reward both types of play styles.
yep, exactly.
And by giving points for ADR, you're basically saying like, I mean, that the survival aspect, you're just kind of cutting that whole thing out. Because what happens if you just you have a good drop, or you just never fucking see anybody until
Yeah.
like the fifth circle, just
Well,
because
that's the
you've had good or safe positioning.
That's the whole thing. Is like usually, specifically early game kills tend to be more about, in my opinion, much more RNG than anything else. And like everybody keeps like, oh, make points early game be worth a lot more, so that way it encourages violence. That really doesn't happen. It's really like you're posted up in a building, somebody's rotating next to you, and you hit an awesome car 98 shot and knock somebody out of their vehicle or something like that. You don't necessarily go out of your way like, I hear a UAZ, let's leave our cover to go chase somebody in circle one to maybe try to get a kill. No, nobody's ever going to do that.
So,
It-
I mean,
The same amount of action happens no matter what.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think that even from the point where we had the only time I've ever seen it be very influential is whenever kills were worth a stupid amount and it just essentially turned into
Yeah.
team deathmatch, and you don't want that. But that being said, I don't think that I've ever at any given point been watching something and gone, "Oh, this team is making this huge change and modification because they're going after these kill points." I don't think that it's ever happened. Like, will you play a little bit more? Like, if you get a knock on two people, maybe will you push the building to go ahead and sweep them out? And then you get kills based off of it. Maybe that encourages that just a little bit. But let's be honest, if you get two knocks, you're probably going to push that building anyway. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, look at what
Yeah.
Riff said. Like, tell me what you think about that, actually, because like, I mean, it is
Uh,
interesting.
points.
I'm not 100% sure how I feel about it, but that would actually, I guess, be interesting.
So we're talking about giving
Yeah.
0.7 of the points to the killer, and 0.3 points to the finisher.
Yes.
Kills
So
on downs.
basically, if I knock someone, right, say 10
Right.
points a kill, I knock someone else from a different team takes my kill. I still get 7 points. They get 3. Granted, again, that's going to make it hard for viewers and other people to calculate. It's going to make it very hard. But however, if there was like some sort of automated system that really was effective, like it could be an actual I think it could be an actual decent solution.
If
But-
we got an API that could do real time calculations like that
Right.
for the events, I mean,
It'd be
make
great.
it easy for the viewer. Like
Exactly.
you can do that, but it's just
Yeah.
a question of can we get that API, and
See,
we'll get that API before Pro.
Frost brings up a good point that we should also be able to see total knocks like kills instead of just having total kills, total knocks,
You should
because that'd be something really funny to say. It's like, oh look, Poro has 15 kills this game, but 4 knocks.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
We know what
Could
Poro's
be.
been up to today.
That's
It
about
could
me.
be.
I mean, do you
It
think
could
there
be.
are teams that do that? That
Oh,
just
Oh,
play
yeah.
it, like,
100%.
yes.
specifically like in
100%.
mind, like we're just gonna finish off every kill.
You could literally have a team. I mean, you could look at Star Ladder Season 1. You could see teams that have like 400 ADR, and then all of a sudden they have 1,600 ADR in total, and all of a sudden they have like 26 kills. Like they're 100% stealing downs.
But I mean, that's part of the game, right? Like you should.
Yeah,
But it's
I
like
think
if you
it should be part of the game.
and you kind of have to plan for that. Right? So if you say you're on Miramar or whatever, and your team has been fortunate enough to get 3 long range scopes, you're just playing the edge, scoping in on all the fights that are going on in center circle, and just picking up kills like that, and then you just
Yeah.
get a hard shift going your way. All of a sudden, you got double digit kills and circle favor. So I mean that kind of adds to that element of RNG. But I mean,
Well-
it's part of the game, and it's something that needs to be played around. But I think that's something that if you are that team that ends up with that good drop, you have to play to your drop, right? Or your play to your loot.
Well, I mean,
Do you ever play to your loot, or do you play just kind of the same way regardless of what y'all
I play
get?
the same way.
Zampa gives no
The
fucks.
thing is,
We've all watched Zampa play. Zampa does Zampa no matter what's happening. I don't know. I love
Yeah.
it.
Pretty
my
much.
thing is, if you knock someone, you have the chance to finish that person. If
Yeah.
someone else steals it, that's your own fault. Like,
Well, I mean, there's the outlier situation, like whenever you're
Yeah.
shooting at somebody and they're jumping and you pop them and then they fall down behind a tree and then you can't finish
yeah,
them.
and then you
but
can't finish them.
We're talking about
But-
like outlier situations in most cases.
I mean, most likely you always have the chance to finish it, but you switch to another priority, and all of a sudden he's stolen. So
Yeah.
I don't think you can reward people for just downing someone and then someone else finishing it.
Yeah. It can't be points for just a knock, because then they can get rezzed, and like I said, you could have a lot
You
of
just
real
farm
big
it.
issues.
Well, you
If
can
that
have like
person-
finishing knocks.
Right, exactly. If that person dies, then the points actually could come in for the person that knocked him. Yeah, that makes more sense. But it can't just be, okay, he got a knock, so he gets 5 points. You know what I mean? Like, that can't happen. There's too many issues that could happen, like,
Well, I mean, we also are
no
at that stage now where we have such a complex point system just in general. Like, most viewers have no idea what we're talking about whenever we're dealing with points. Like, I know one of the common conversations we have is, well, this is too confusing for viewers. I can tell you most viewers don't know what first to second place gets as far as ranking per round. Like if you get first place, you get 300 points, and second place gets 250. They don't know that. They don't know the amount that kills are worth.
Casual viewers,
Like
yeah.
we keep trying to push that. Well, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
We actually do have a pretty hardcore fan base right now. There is a
We
lot
do.
of people that really bounce from every single thing that they can to watch. You see the names in chat on a regular basis, but it's the casuals that we do need to bring in. And I don't know. We already have a crazy point system. I don't know if adding more to it is a bad thing, and I don't know if simplifying it is the better way to go either. Like again, that goes back into the PUBG League, and there are so many things that I have so many questions about. Like specifically, I think that again, the PUBG League, the scariest thing for me is the point system. How does it work? And what are you laughing at, Poro? You're looking over at chat. I can already tell.
No, I mean, I
fucking
could see them
Smurf.
doing something crazy. Like, I just
Bring
have a
back the old
feeling.
water system. No, I don't think so, Smurf. I don't think so.
Only have placement points. Yep.
No mermaids. No mermaids.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, remember? I mean, you guys
That shit was
have been
crazy,
around for a
bro,
long
like-
time. Like, remember when it was the big debate was
water.
whether we should include kill points?
Dive water.
I mean,
like-
this was like way back in the beginning
Oh,
of
yeah.
PUBG Online. Whenever there was the big debate amongst everybody, like, should we actually give points for kills because it's a survival based
Yeah.
game, like all that stuff. And then it was like, okay, well, how many points do we give per kill? And
It's always like every single change that's ever happened to a PUBG system, everybody has always been so angry. Like that's just the way it's gone. Like I remember whenever it was like, hey, first person's out and viewers really want to watch first person, guys, let's try doing first person. Everybody was like, no, third person is king. Fuck you for ever trying
and
this.
then Noble left.
Yeah.
Noble left the scene.
Oh yeah, they left PUBG
like a month.
Online. Yeah,
And they were like,
They left
no,
PUBG Online.
third person's gonna make a comeback.
and then when they came back, they got put in contenders. I remember that. That show was funny.
And then there was the drop from 20 teams to 16 teams. That was really big. Then there was, do we ever include Miramar? And then naturally there was kills for points. What other big controversy did like pissed everybody off? I think that those are the big ones, aren't they?
The water thing that
Oh,
always
yeah.
is that's
Healing-
always
healing
been
in the
the
blue.
thing. Healing in the blue has been a
Yeah.
big one too. Yeah, the water thing was so funny.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you'd have one team in a compound and like another
And
team
then
like
there
kind of
was-
off, and there was 15 teams alive, and there was just solos bobbing in the water.
Let me
like,
tell you the joy that casting that was.
Oh my
And we're gonna sit here for the next 3 minutes while people float in the
Yep.
water and not
Oh,
have to
yeah.
god,
move.
that was the
Oh.
actual worst.
My God, that was terrible. What's
It was
like,
funny,
I,
though.
I
It was so
specifically had
funny.
production like, don't even show the water people. Fuck them. They get no screen time. We'll just sit here and look at these people staring out from the house.
Dude, we got so angry about that shit. Like we like as a group of casters, we intentionally went out of our way to talk shit about the people that know water like
We
three circles
understand.
from the
Like, again,
fourth
we-
circle.
don't think the fact that if we ever gave you guys crap, we understand. You're playing for positioning, dive water, survive. We get it. But at the
Don't
same
care.
time, we're like, what the fuck do we talk about now?
I'm sorry if you're diving water in the fucking fourth circle with 3 members alive on your team.
But
You're gonna get shit
that
talked
happened.
about.
That
you.
that
happened
was
a lot.
always the best. It's
That
like,
was
all
fucking
right,
totality. Or-
one person
or-
go water, and the 3 of us will go here. You know what I mean? Like just like in case the 3 of us die, we still have one person. But like the game was literally, it was. Well, I guess the scene early on at that point was developed to where that was like extremely effective. Like it
Yeah.
almost teams that didn't do it were hurting themselves so much. But I mean, obviously a lot has changed, thankfully. But yeah, it was funny, that's for sure.
We can shoot water-ish now.
The Miramar came out. We're like, fucking thank God. There's
Well,
only like 2 places.
Yeah.
where you
Yeah,
can
that's
go in
true.
the water.
That was the
Well,
whole
now
thing. I still remember to this day. Everybody was just like, "Oh, Miramar is not balanced for competitive play," and I was like, "It doesn't have water in it. How is this worse than whatever we're dealing with right now?" Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, right.
Miramar is
And
still a
then
rough
it's all
map.
hill.
But, yeah, Miramar is still a rough map. But at the time, whenever the mermaids thing was constant, it was just like, I don't understand. How is this one okay and this one's not?
Back when people thought that crouch jumping was the thing that separated the pros from the plebs.
Yeah, we forgot about that. Crouch
Mm.
jumping going away. Good lord. Let's
Hey,
let's
no,
just,
you could
let's just
you
piss
could do
off
it now.
everybody in chat.
I do it all the time now.
Yeah,
but
you
you
just have to-
you
you
don't
have
need
to-
to crouch now. Yeah,
Yeah,
you literally
you
just
have to-
sprint out the window, flick your mouse up, and you literally just you crouch through it right in. I mean, you break glass though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Remember back in the day, you could lean halfway in and out of the glass, kind
You
of.
still can.
Now, really?
You can just lean, but
Oh
you
yeah,
can't
yeah.
just,
No,
like,
you can't do what
step
you
out.
used to be able to do. You can't walk through it though. That's
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
saying.
Can't walk
Yeah.
through glass without breaking it.
Right, exactly. Like that was the crouch jumping thing. Like, yeah. But I mean, you still kind of can do it, something similar.
All right, so we're at a little over an hour at this stage. Are there any at this point, chat? If you guys got specific questions you want us to address, something specifically spicy or whatever, feel free to bring it our way. Poro, I know you always have a couple of random things that you want to talk about. But Zampa, Gunner, is there any topic that you want to hit while we're in the process of closing? Anything that catches
No.
your fancy? Zampa's like, no, I just want to be fucking done.
No, Zampa had fun. Trust me. Zampa was so excited when I told him, "Yo, we're doing a podcast
Oh,
together."
Yeah, I was.
He's like, "Yo, let's
great.
go, dude." He's like, "I'm about to go buy a new Logitech camera, get on the big screen." Like, he was hype, man. He was
Oh.
hype.
Monty wants to know why is Gunner bad? So Gunner,
Oh, Monty. I mean, I can go on.
We
I
got
know
another
30.
hour to
He's
fill
30.
here.
I'll tell you right now.
He's
This
30.
podcast would go 10 p.m. if I talked about all the bad things about Monty. But you know what? I'm gonna be nice, and I'm just getting old, dude. That's why. Really, I'm just starting to really feel like the old, effects of being older. Although these guys are older than me, but we won't go there.
Hey,
and a slightly related question, Godspeed wants to know why he's not signed yet. Do you think it could
boy,
be?
I want to know that too.
I mean, he's been being really good.
I
Your
mean-
day will come, Godspeed. Your day will come.
Yeah, he's a great player. He's a good guy. He's good. He's a good figure. I think he's a mature figure in the scene. I definitely think that he should have a spot on the
He's
team.
cute.
Yeah, he's got a nice beard too, by the way.
Very nice.
However,
does.
I mean, maybe it's just a million and a half. Like I was saying earlier, 1.5 million free agents, and a lot of them are really waiting for more information about the pro league before they really want to solidify their roster. However, I think Godspeed is a player that will be involved in the pro league. I think he needs to stick around no matter what because he's going to be a good asset to any team. Thank you. It's a great way to stay in shape.
Hey, all right. Samty wants to know what are our thoughts on PGL 24 games?
Over what, 3 days?
3 or 4? I'm
I don't
flying
know.
out to the
I
event and I
don't.
don't even remember.
Yeah,
Or is it going to
everyone's
be
4 days, right?
Friday, Saturday,
It's
Sunday?
the 11th through the
Yeah, it's like
15th.
6 games a day. I
Oh,
think
6 games a day. That
Yeah.
isn't bad. No,
it's like 6 games a day
Sampy,
over
come
4 days or something.
on. Come
Well,
on.
in my opinion, I think that 24 is a little bit high. Personally, I think that usually right around 15, we already seem to know who's going to win, and then like the last 8 games just don't fucking matter because and nobody like people are still watching because the action's cool, but there's no
Yeah.
like who's gonna win. It's like oh these
How many
guys are
was
gonna win.
WSOE? What, 16?
Well, who do you guys think is going to win? That's my question.
Oh,
Ooh,
PGL?
PGL.
Yes.
Oof.
FaZe has
That's a
been being
tough.
really spicy lately.
That's a really tough question because you also have OMG that's
Yep.
going to be there now, and so I mean, my big question, and I said this earlier, is OMG for real? I mean, they've played.
Aren't they
They
having...
won PGI off of 8 games. They got kind of crapped
Dude,
on at Hong Kong.
Isn't Gen G sending a sub roster?
Gen G. I don't think Gen G's in it.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
PGL?
Yeah, we got from
what are the NA teams that are in?
All right,
Cloud9 and Ghost.
here's a list of
That's
teams.
it, right?
Yep.
Atletico,
Oh,
Cloud9, FaZe, Ghost Gaming, Liquid, Navi, Secret, Vitality, M19, Oh My God, Divine Esports, Vici Gaming, Ninjas in Pajamas, i.e. Welcome to South George, Pittsburgh Knights, Four Angry Men, and Snake.
We actually don't have any Korean teams.
Truth. Wait,
That's interesting.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
it's OMG that doesn't have the original roster. Yeah,
Yeah.
OMG
Yeah.
is having they have a sick team. I think, and they're having 4 replacements.
yeah. I think that Liquid counted as a North American invite due to location of their headquarters, and it was if I think that was the
is
I
that how
think
it works?
no, I no, they messed it up.
They
They
messed
put
it up.
Team Secret as NA,
Europe.
That's right.
and
Wait.
then
That's right.
I
That's
mean
right.
Europe, and then they put Team Liquid as
So
NA.
no
Because of the
Korea.
headquarters.
So no Korean teams. I want to know if OMG is for real. I want to know if M19 can keep their lane performance going because they won GLL and then they did really well at Star Ladder. I want to see. Obviously, I want to see all the new rosters. I mean, that's going to be fun, even though they might not be set in stone rosters. I want to know if Cloud9 is for real. Honestly, like I think they're a really damn good team on paper, and in GLL they've been stuck in Bravo lobby for whatever reason, but in scrims they seem to be doing
I say
really
give
well.
them
I don't
time.
know.
Give them time.
Yeah, I mean, then maybe they need a little bit of time to mesh.
I think they're going to perform. You watch. Mark my words. You heard it here
Yeah.
first. Clip it, clip it, clip it, clip it. Cloud9 is going to get top 3 at this PGL.
I hope that
Sign it up.
the boys down under will do pretty good.
Atletico, I do
Atletico?
too.
Yeah.
I do. I really like them. They're really nice.
Same.
I'm really curious to see Ghost and Cloud9 face off. Like naturally with the Profi roster strip. I like that juicy drama. That's the type of shit that I like to watch in my esports. Whenever people switch to a new team and then they have to fight their old team, I don't know, make something happen for me. I really enjoy it. I'm really curious to see how Welcome to South George does as Ninjas in Pajamas now, and how they're going to handle the pressure of being signed. That'll be
This show, yeah.
I think I really want to see Navi come back. I think they shit the bed at Star Ladder and they played.
Yeah, they're
really,
doing
really
work for a
poorly.
while, huh?
I think that has to have been a one-off.
Yeah,
for
but
them.
they have a completely different roster.
I mean, it's different.
It's
but
not
it's not
Welcome to
all
PUBG
different, right?
right
They'll
now.
have-
It
they'll
feels
have
like
two-
you remember this
They'll
team.
have 2 of
They
their
don't
4
exist anymore.
players.
Well, who do they have? Who's the Navi roster right now?
They'll have Polka and I think just Shade.
Poker. They don't have an active.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it's just Poca and Shade are the only 2 confirmed.
Mm. Well, I mean,
So
I want
says
to see. I want to
Liquipedia
see
right
if they
now.
can. I want to see if they can get it back together and get things back on track. And also, I mean, obviously, want to see FaZe. Can they kind of come back? They didn't have a great Star Ladder either. And I mean, I don't know. Every single one of these teams. We were talking about this earlier. Every single one of these teams, there's a good story to.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Vitality is. I mean, they're surging right now. They're playing. really, really well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them be fighting for the top at the end there. But I mean, there's a lot of really good teams here.
I don't
And
think that
I'm also
Vitality's hit their skill cap yet.
no,
I don't think
I
so
don't think
either.
they have
Yeah.
either.
I think
And
that
they've
there's
been
still a lot of
playing.
room there.
They've been playing wild, and I'm also super interested to see what kind of wild ass tilt-inducing shit that Divine Esports tries to pull off in this, because
Well-
I don't know if you remember from round 1 of Star Ladder, they were tilting the shit out of everybody.
They're fucking magicians.
A big question that I have is Knights
I see what you did
being their like they're still staple 4 at this event. I wonder how strong that's going to be, since they're not having to do any of their they're not having to deal with roster swaps or any of that other stuff. From my understanding, they're just going to be bringing Moxit, Cremo, Drayden, and Texas all.
And Knights are good, man.
And they're
I love
always been a
watching
strong
them.
performer. I think that like a lot of people are kind of sleeping on them because we're talking about all this stuff that's been going on with roster swaps and how spicy this new roster could be. But almost being as consistent as Knights has been, and then not having to deal with all of like that new learning communication or learning all that other stuff, that might actually give them a very strong point inside of this event.
Yeah, they're one of my favorite teams to watch too. I love watching them play.
Knights, yeah.
Yeah, I just like the way they team fight is so good. Like they have like I don't know, their communication, the way they flank. Like I don't know, watching them is pretty enjoyable. They're great to watch.
when they're on,
They're
when
on,
when
yeah.
they're feeling it, they're probably one of the scariest teams. But I think one of the problems that they have is that they have a tough time getting out of tough situations, like in the moment. Like you know, you look at teams like FaZe, right? Or I mean, I don't know current FaZe, but old FaZe for sure. You know, they would find themselves in shitty spots, and they somehow, some way, would always manage to get out of it and come out on top. In Knights, it seems like whenever they have a rough a rotation or a transition into zone, if they find themselves in a bad spot, it seems like they more often than not end up losing it. But if
Yeah.
if they find themselves like in a good prime position, they're damn near unbeatable.
Well,
I think
Knights' biggest strength is also kind of its biggest weakness. They have so much confidence in their ability to murder everything around them that they will move themselves into a little bit more dangerous of a position, specifically with like Texas, to try to get those kills and get those knocks. But then they'll push themselves so far forward to try to get those knocks. Suddenly they're surrounded by a shit ton of people, and now they have to rely on their aim to get themselves back out at the spot. And it leads to a lot of fun to watch, but sometimes it's real hit or miss sometimes.
They're really good at knowing when they're playing with an advantage. Like
Yeah.
they sometimes, you know, teams will find themselves in a position where they have an advantage, but they don't really know it, or they don't see it, or they don't play off it as well as they could. It seems like Knights is really, really good at capitalizing on any advantages that they're given.
Zanpah, it seemed like you had a point to make about Knights. We cut you off there.
I kind of get reminded of old Vitality in like Oakland, of like
Oh,
their
yeah,
team
good
fighting
call. Yeah.
for Knights. I think they're super, super good at fighting, and it kind of reminds me of old FaZe when they were super confident.
I love chat. Zampa is so still right now. You can tell he's a disciplined player.
I know.
The complete
Ooh,
control
yeah.
he has over his reflexes.
See,
That just he's in the
Doesn't
zone right
show.
now. He's totally focused
Great
on this
pick.
podcast.
He's mastered the art of appearing.
I heard this was a
invisible.
24-hour podcast.
Oh,
Well,
shit.
one day-
I mean, we could. We obviously.
One
we
day,
could.
there.
I
Okay,
mean,
keep in mind we're gonna
I
try to
could.
do a live one at PGL, but I guess we'll go ahead
Oh,
and say
really?
this because yeah, we'll just
I'm
get
shocked.
everybody sit on the couch and sit down in that, and just have everybody together. But
We're trying to get everybody on the casting couch.
there is a thing that Poro and I are trying to do, so let it be known. We'll go ahead and leak it now.
Get some leaks out here. Come on
We're
now.
wanting to
Don't
do
hold back.
a long style podcast where we're going to start trying to grab a whole bunch of the people from back in the early days that are still part of it. And we're just going to start chaining guests. Today, with doing 2 different podcasts, was kind of a test of how that would work. But we'll just start chaining guests to go through the history of PUBG leading into the PUBG League. So it'll probably be like huge. We'll have to break it apart for YouTube, but it'll be
Me
long.
and Zampa break pass the test, or
Yeah, we might let you back.
Yeah, maybe.
all right, sick.
Dep-
Nice.
depends on if you
Oh,
did-
no.
It depends. Like Zampa's fine, but it all depends on whether or not you decide to be a coach or a caster. Then that'll kind of decide
Yeah,
it.
no, I respect that.
I mean, look, I really want to hear about. I want to hear some more Corn Shucker stories. To be honest, Corn Shuckers was like, that was
Oh.
probably one of the first really dominant North
Damn.
American teams that we had.
Oh,
For USs, they loved US forts. Oh goodness.
Hold
holy
on, I
shit.
just accidentally clicked the wrong thing. Somebody was trying to talk in chat, and I accidentally clicked deny instead of allow. So if I
Damn.
just accidentally kick
No.
your
Get outta
feedback
here.
back out, I'm
Banning
sorry. You
people.
can say it again, and I'll allow it this time.
Man, just spam casting couch. We need a casting couch emote. I still have that couch,
Hitting-
by the way.
Yeah, it's
hitting
around
the
the corner.
center
I got to
circle.
sit on the casting couch last night. I went over to
Yeah, you
Boro's
did.
house. Yeah.
Honestly, the Shuckers started the playing on hills with a US or a vehicle fort meta. They started
Yeah.
it at the time. They somehow always had 4 vehicles, no matter what. Like there was never a time that we ran. Like anytime I saw like 4 USs, I knew it was like Zanpah and them. I was like, oh, there they are. That's the corn shuckers right there. But
Yeah,
All
they were super dominant there for a while. My
So-
couch does not smell like ass. You smell like ass.
All right, guys, we're at that stage. I think we'll go ahead and close it out so everybody can say.
No, I've got questions.
Okay, do your questions.
All right. I'm gonna come in with my last 2 questions. All right, for both of you guys, quick questions. DPI and sensitivity.
Mine?
Yeah.
456, 54, I think.
I play 800 DPI and 52.
Always curious to know that kind of stuff. I
Mhm.
don't know why. And then, all right, would you, Gunner? I know that you had to have watched the fight last night.
Yeah, I watched it.
Zampa, did you watch?
Yeah, I watched the fight.
What did
Wait, why'd you
guys
say I
think?
had to have watched it?
Because I know you're a UFC guy.
Uh,
I'm not. I'm
watched-
not. I
no,
just,
I'm,
you know, I
I'm
kind
a,
of kept
I like
up with all.
boxing. I like boxing, but I keep up with the drama in UFC.
That
I'm
definitely
a
was.
huge
drama.
UFC guy.
All right. So what
I
did
know,
y'all
that's why I
think of
watched
the
it.
fights last night?
I
think
knew
they-
Connor was going to get his ass beat in the 4th round.
Hot
I
takes.
I think that my favorite part about it all was the interview with what's his
Yes.
name,
That was the
That's what
best part.
everybody keeps saying.
where his balls were hot or whatever he was saying. What's his name? I can't.
Yeah,
I don't even know.
is it
I have to look it up.
Dennis?
No, it's like
So
Dennis,
kind of
Dimitri, or
close.
something like that. Yeah, someone's gonna know. Derek Lewis.
Derek
There you go.
Lewis, there it is.
Yeah,
There it is.
I
that
mean, he
dude
talks
is
about-
the fun.
He talks about
Trump.
his ball being hot. He talks about
Yeah.
Trump smoking weed.
Yeah.
That
Smoking
was-
weed, like everything.
He was like the
it was
Gunner
awesome.
of UFC. you
Yeah,
know?
that's I envisioned myself if I was a UFC fighter. I kind of pictured that would be my interview. And it was
could see
great.
it.
I loved it.
Oh, and then
He's my new favorite guy.
And then King D wanted to know, who do you think would make it further into boot camp, me or Matrym?
Whoa, between you two,
Yeah.
honestly, I think you'd both graduate.
Wash out so fucking fast.
Nah, you both will graduate. You got the willpower and the mental power to do it. You'll be all right. Trust me.
Dude.
Oh
Derek Lewis.
I was in
interview.
JRTC. Haha.
See that?
God, yeah.
All right, so
Matt's-
Matrym's got you beat, dude.
Yeah, Matt's got me beat. I'm fine with that. Like I already know I would never make it. So thank you for your service, sir, and thank you for making it through boot camp. so I
Thank you
don't
for
have
having
to.
me on here. Yeah.
And thank you, Zampa, for being drug along, even though we know you didn't want to be here. We still
He
appreciate
wanted
it.
to-
No, he makes it seem like, look, I've known him for a
Hey.
while now. I hang out with him every night. I play games with him every night. He makes it seem that he didn't want to be here, but he wanted to be here, and he loved the fact that he was here. And just trust me, he's happy to be here. And you know what? We'll come back and do it again tomorrow if you wanted us to do it, and he'd be
You know what?
okay with it.
USA in this motherfucking bitch.
Thank
Yes.
you. Thank
One
you.
day. One day.
Bring him
This
my
is-
America shirt.
All right. Well, so with this, guys, we're going to go ahead and close it out. We've been here for a hot minute. So if you guys have any feedback or anything else that you want, make sure you give everybody a follow here. Reach out to them on Twitter if you come up with something else new. But we will see you guys later.